Dear friends, once again warm welcome in our first session which is called as business operations. So we will talk about what is business operations and starting with the definition. So it is very simple definition, nothing rocket science in this. So business operations is nothing but it is production of products or services. So it is very simple definition. We have seen it is production of products or services. Now, while doing this production of products or services, what happens is there is always some input which is transformed with some processes into an output. Now, what is input? Input is in any form like raw material. It can be human skills, human time, or human efforts, and it can be also capital. So these are major forms of inputs which are used to do some transformation process. So what is transformation process? It is basically converting any input into the output. Now, as we have seen, business operations is just production of products or services. That means the output of business operations is always a product or a service. So that is simple definition of business operations. Now, it is also important to understand in any organization or in any company, everything that happens in that company or to keep that company running, to earn profit, there are collectively multiple activities are done which are called as business operations. So whatever departments are within the company, these are created, these are formed based on nature of activities or nature of business operations being done by these departments. So you will see multiple departments in any company, like finance is one department, procurement is one department, production, customer service, warehousing, transportation, sales, and marketing. So all these departments are collectively creating some products or services from their efforts. So each department is simply a form of business operations because each department takes some inputs, let's say any input that they get from another department or customer or anyone within the company, and based on those inputs they create something which is nothing but transformation process, and this transformation process gives some output as a product or services. So let's take an example of production department. So what input that production department takes is basically information about customer demand from customer service, sales team, demand planning team, or product managers. And they also take an input as the labor's time, labor skills. The input required to them is also raw material. Input required to them is also machineries or capital. Based on that input, they create a product which might be a finished good or which might be a work in process, which is basically an output of their department. So production itself is one of the business operations. Similarly, finance is business operations, warehousing is business operation, transportation is business operations. Now we'll see what is operations management. We have seen what is business operations, and then now we'll see what is operations management. So simply, operations management is a field or area of management which is concerned with designing, redesigning, and controlling all the processes which are used for production of goods or services. So this is very simple. To manage entire business operations, we have certain processes. So to design this process, to redesign, revamp, re-engineer these processes, and to control these processes, every activity that is being done, that is nothing but the operations management. Now let's move to the next example. So on a screen you will see basically the business operations example, where you will see some inputs are taken, and if you see at the center there are two examples. You will see first manufacturing operations, where you will see the bottles are being manufactured, and in second example you will see car servicing is done. So both these examples are basically a transformation process, because in manufacturing operations they are turning some inputs into the outputs. So let's see what are the different inputs that they might be taking. So let's say to manufacture the bottles you will need raw material, which can be bottle caps, which can be labels on the bottle, which can be body of the bottle. So all these forms a raw material. Then some inputs are also in the form of people, that means their skills and their efforts, and certain inputs are also like equipments, to run these machineries and to run these operations, certain equipments are required. Also, you will see inputs in the form of intangible needs or in the form of information. So this is nothing but you will have some information to produce these bottles. So some information as in quantity that needs to be manufactured, color that needs to be manufactured, time that you need to complete your manufacturing. So all these are also your inputs. Similarly, in service operations, this example talks about car servicing. You will have input as in material, any raw material that is required to replace the car parts. You will also need people. You will also need equipments to service the car. You will need intangible needs or information. That means the request coming from customer, like what they have to do in the servicing of a car. Now we'll talk about output. So based on these two examples, you can see that in a first example, the tangible goods, that means a bottle itself is an output. The second output can be fulfilled request. That means a customer has given some request and we have fulfilled that request. That is also an output. Third is information. So information, it also is an output, because manufacturing, in a first example, you will see the bottles are manufactured, but after the bottles are manufactured, some information also has to be produced, like how much quantity they have manufactured, how many lot numbers they have manufactured, what kind of colors they have manufactured. So this is an information which is an output, and ultimately every company works for satisfying their customers, so that is also an output of the transformation process. So in a nutshell, everything that you see around you is basically coming out from certain operations process, certain transformation process. So simply any book that you read or any video movie that you watch, your car servicing, your medical treatments, or let's say your computer, so everything that you see is coming out from certain business operations as a fundamental behind their existence. Now we have seen like there are two outputs of business operations. One is goods and second is services. So let's quickly understand the difference between goods and services. So we all know that in a nutshell, goods are basically a tangible, where we can touch them and we can easily feel them after we touch. Services are basically intangible in nature. Those are, we cannot touch the services, but we can feel the services. Then goods are basically produced in a factory or manufacturing setup or assembly line. However, services are produced in the interaction between buyers and sellers, because every interaction may vary. Goods can be stored, but services cannot be stored. And also, one of the important differences, in case of goods, the transfer of ownership takes place from one person to another person or from one entity to another entity. However, the transfer of ownership in case of services is usually not available. The very important difference is also there, like quality control problems in the scenario of goods are less and can be easily measured, and the quality control problems in case of services are high and cannot be easily measured, because whatever treatment you take from doctor, you don't exactly know whether this was really a quality treatment, or whatever servicing that is done to your car, you don't know exactly how qualitatively this is done or how perfectly this is done. So quality control problems remains high in service industry, and these cannot be easily measured. So some examples of goods can be television, car, salt, soap, computer, furniture, and all things which you can touch. This is nothing but good. And some example of services can be insurance policies, insurance services that you take, hospital services that you take, then teaching services that you take, then telecommunication services that you take, broadband services. So these are all services. Now simply let's see what are few examples of different business operations. So we will see two examples. The left side you will see that this example is for manufacturing company, and on right side you will see the example of retail company. So manufacturing company has multiple business operations, which starts from raw material procurement. Then there are also business operations like research and development, which is called as R&D. Then third is manufacturing or production itself is also the business operations. Then there is also sales, and let's say pre-sales and post-sales service is also one of the business operations. So these are basic required business operations in the manufacturing company. But there can be multiple operations, business operations in a manufacturing company. We know that finance is there, HR is there, so everything is involved, but we are just taking a simple example here. On the right side you will see retail company. So retail company like Walmart, Amazon, so they are basically a retail companies. So usually in these companies there is a buying division who buys let's say products for customer. They store these products. Then there are business operations like marketing, who market their services, their products. Then there is business operation like sales, then also services. So there can be also multiple business operations in retail scenario, like transportation, storage, warehousing. But this is just an example to make sure you have a clear understanding of different business operations that happens in business, manufacturing, or let's say services industry, or retail industry. So similarly in service industry you can see multiple business operations like insurance companies or telecommunication companies. So this is basically an example. So we will stop here for our first topic of business operations, and I hope you have learned what is business operations, what is operations management, and how goods and services are different from each other. What are the differentiating factors between goods and services? I hope you have also seen what are the different types of inputs and different types of outputs that are produced through the business operations or service operations.